let's see here. Next is another Star Wars book. This is a collection of 5 short stories. This is kind of a cool book because it has illustrations in it. And just the way it's written, it's almost like a magazine. And it's Starlight Stories, Justina Ireland, Kevin Scott, and Charles Sweden. And that's part of the public. The next 2 books are in movie form. It's one of my favorite movies. It's got Jake Gyllenhaal in it, and he plays the author. This is also true crime. I figure if I'm going to put true crime on the channel, I'm going to start with true crime. And that's Robert Graysmith's Zodiac. This is the first book featuring, and then Zodiac Unmasked. Robert Graysmith was a reporter for the San Francisco Chronicle who became obsessed with the Zodiac Killer. And the first book, Zodiac, is like the first half of the movie, and the second half is the Unmasked book. And he becomes so obsessed that he loses his wife. Like all kinds of stuff happens to him over this. And he believes, and I tend to believe as well, he figured out who the Zodiac Killer was. But everything was circumstantial, so nothing was done about it. It's really good. It's a great movie. You should check it out. So if you watch the channel and you know from my last video, I am currently reading book 2, Caliban's War, of the Expanse series. It's an amazing book. I'm almost done. But I had originally planned to read Greg Iles' Natchez Burning trilogy, and I had somebody tell me that I should read the first 4 Pen Cage books before I read the trilogy, because some stuff is talked about in the trilogy that happens in previous books. So I decided to read The Expanse and put Natchez Burning on hold. I went out and got the first Pen Cage book by Greg Iles, The Quiet Game. So I'll read those first 4 and then read the Natchez Burning. If they're good, I'll cover the entire Pen Cage storyline. Next is a series that I've got quite a few books in that series. It's the Gray Man series, Backblast by Mark Greaney. This was also a movie. I thought the movie was pretty good. And I've heard nothing but good stuff about the books as well. Next is another Star Wars. This is Tessa Grayton and Justina Ireland. Star Wars, The High Republic, and this one is Path of Deceit. It's got a very cool cover. This next book, I had the original first printings as a kid, and over the years, I think they've either been lost in the move that I've done, or I've had roommates or friends borrow them and never return them. And it's Clive Barker's Books of Blood. This is volume 1, 2, and 3. There is 4, 5, and 6 that I haven't got yet, but these are the ones I read as a kid and scared the hell out of myself. 8, 9 years old, reading those late at night when I should have been sleeping. Next is, I've got a bunch of this author's books as well. Grady Hendrix, How to Sell a Haunted House. This is his newest book. I gotta take these stupid stickers off. I hate them. This next book was recommended by a girl at my local Barnes & Noble. She saw this cool horror jacket that I wear that has horror-themed patches all over it. And one of the patches says, I heart vampires, which I do. They're my favorite movie monster. And she asked me if I liked Harry Potter. And, you know, I'm like, of course. Harry Potter's like one of the greatest stories ever. So this is kind of like Harry Potter meets vampires. It's Nicole Arend, and it's Vamps Fresh Blood. This is going to be a series. And this series is about a vampire academy that's out in the middle of nowhere in this giant castle. And one of the new students that is coming to the academy is half human, half vampire. And he soon realizes that he has a power that other vampires don't. Sounded really good, so I picked it up. Next, this was a no-brainer. I read the first book of this trilogy. This is my dude. He has my favorite booktube channel on YouTube. Check him out. Brian Lee Durfee's Book 3 of the 5 Warrior Angels, The Lonesome Crown. I loved the first book. I cannot wait to read book 2 and now book 3. Next is some historical fiction. This is by Dan Simmons, The Abominable. This takes place on Mount Everest, and I believe it deals with Sir Edmund Hillary, who was the first person to summit Mount Everest. Next is Peter Straub's Ghost Story. This is a Peter Straub I've never read, so I'm looking forward to see how that is, because Peter Straub is kind of hit or miss for me. I like some of his stuff I don't like. This book, the cover, is what caught my eye. I've never heard of this author before, but this sounded like a Tom Clancy, like Division, Jack Ryan type book. It's Jonathan Mayberry's Relentless. Very cool cover. Next is another book that I saw the movie for and wanted to read the book. I do have other books by this author. Dennis Lehane's Shutter Island. Next is another Dan Simmons. I picked up a couple Dan Simmons over the winter. This one, I saw the TV show on AMC, really liked it, so I wanted to read the book. And it's The Terror by Dan Simmons. Of course, it's got the stupid advertising that y'all know I hate. Can't get rid of it. Next is a book that Elvis did a movie, and I believe it was 55 or 56, called King Creole. That movie is based on this book. It's Harold Robbins' A Stone for Danny Fisher. Very cool, like pulp cover on this book. I love this cover. Next is another Dan Simmons. This is a giant of a book, but a girl at school told me it is really cool. It's like historical fiction. It deals with Charles Dickens, and it's Drood. Look at this monster. Next is a classic. It's actual Penguin classic. I love these books. They look amazing on a shelf. Fyodor Dostoevsky's The Brothers Karamazov. This is a crime novel, and a lot of people I've talked to said that this is like their favorite book. Next we have a young adult Star Wars book, Poe Dameron Freefall by Alex Segura. And I believe this takes place before episode 7. This next author, I've never heard anything bad about his books. Robert McCammon, Boy's Life. Heard nothing but good things about this author. I can't wait to read some of his books. Next is another Star Wars. This is like a sequel to the Solo movie. It's Ray Carson's Most Wanted. Deals with Han Solo. Almost to the end here. Bernard Cornwell's The Last Kingdom. This is part of the Saxon books. From what I've heard, these are historical books, but they read like fiction. So I'm looking forward to those. And they tell like the history of England. I've got almost all of these books. Once I do, I'm going to start reading them in a unique order chronologically, so you skip around a lot. This is Cassandra Clare's Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy. This is part of the Mortal Instruments stories. There's a ton of books in that series. Alright, and the last two. The last two are... well, I got one more because it's the best cover. I've been wanting to read this for a long time. Translators Matter. This is one of the better translations from what I've been told. Victor Hugo's Les Miserables. This is a monstrous book. It's like 1,500 pages for this. The next one, I don't know who translated this. They don't give the translator any kind of credit. But it is a beautiful Barnes & Noble leather-bound edition of Les Mis. And look at that. These are some of my favorite books you can buy. They're so well done. But I don't know who translated this. If you know, let me know. I've done some searches, and I've come up with 4 different translators. So I'm not for certain who does that one. And the last one. This is Samantha Shannon. I have heard a ton of good stuff about this. It is a monster of a book, but everybody tells me read it. It is amazing. It's The Priory of the Orange Tree, and look at this cover. Like, are you kidding me? This cover is just, it's gorgeous. And it is a thick book. But even when I bought it at Barnes & Noble, the lady was like, yeah, we sell out of those as soon as they show up. So that's my winter book haul. Next week, if I am not done with book 2 of The Expanse, Caliban's War, I will be doing an off the books because people have been asking about that. I do have questions where I could do quite a few episodes now. So I'll be doing that. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell button so you know when my next video comes out. That's all I got for you. Until next time, read more books.